Enthusiast. I am your host, Shane Carlson, and it's Super Bowl Sunday. For those of you who are tuning in right now, maybe you're watching us later, but as of the date of this recording, it's Super Bowl Sunday. And one thing I've learned from doing these lives over the years is that Super Bowl Sunday it tends to be a slow turnout for our weekly live stream entitled Smell It Sunday. So I'm prepared for a small little intimate crowd. I have some fun candles on the desk here, and we're just going to jump right into it. 2013, Yankee Candle had an idea. This idea was not one of their best. If I may share my own opinion, they uh, decided to put out a collection called the Man Candles. A lot of people call it by different names, but I believe they promoted it originally as the Man Candles. It was a collection of fragrances marketed towards men, or maybe marketed towards the men's significant others to purchase for them as a gift. They all seem to be novelties. There's a few of them that I would say maybe are you could take seriously, but the other ones seem to be a bit of a novelty. They returned briefly in 2014, and then they disappeared forever. And I think this was a good choice. Now, why am I going to be talking about these candles today? Well, I always get uh, questions about these candles that were geared towards men. Virgil's in the house. Thank you, Virgil, for your contribution. Virgil's at work today, and he won't be able to follow along, but he wants to say hello to everyone. Um, uh, these, yeah, these, the, I don't know. I don't know. I get a lot of questions about them. People want to know maybe they see an old ad, they come across an old catalog, they see some old photos on the internet, or maybe they come across them on eBay and they're like, what are these? So I have a few of them. I don't have the entire collection. I actually just don't own the entire collection. It's one thing that my Yankee Candle archives is running short on, but I do have a few. And then I have a few others that we'll talk about. And then we'll wrap it up at a good time today because we all have plans, whether you enjoy Super Bowl Sunday or football or you don't. I think one way or the other. This is, Super Bowl Sunday always manages to be a national holiday. So let me pull you folks up on my screen because that is always the first step. This way I can see you folks and more importantly, see your comments. Well, I can't see you. I mean, I think you guys know that, but I can see your comments and I can see who everyone who's in the chat area, the live chat area. And there's a few people that I see already that I desperately owe some emails to. Dale, you're one of them. I've been working been working a lot the past couple weeks. It's kind of stretched into like 6 days a week sometimes, and it's just like, I'm falling behind on my correspondence. So please excuse that, and then I will get back to everyone, including you, Virgil, as well. Um, Reverend Jenny says, "Quiet Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday is not my thing." Yeah, it's really not. I'm all about the food. I'm not necessarily about the game. I've never been a big sports fan, at least televised sports. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I, I used to like to watch baseball back in the day, but somehow don't feel like it's the same as it was when I was a kid. Shane or Matthew says, Shane, what do you do for a living? Well, I don't know if I can answer what do I do for a living. I mean, I do so many things. I try to do so many things. But sometimes of the year you'll catch me. I'm working on some video production, film production. Other times of the year you'll see me doing a lot of. I do a lot of editing. Whether small projects, large projects, not for YouTube, and also, yeah. I mean, although I don't work in the wine industry anymore, uh, I still dabble in the hospitality world. So I try to mix things up. But what do I do for a living? I don't think I've ever done anything, one thing for a living. It's a mixed bag. And I got another diet Mountain Dew today. I hope you don't mind. I hope I'm not getting addicted to this stuff. It's got zero sugar. I had a choice at the grocery store to go with diet Mountain Dew or zero sugar Mountain Dew. And I looked at the nutritional facts and it was identical. So what am I dealing with here? Like, am I drinking the same product, Mountain Dew or PepsiCo? Um, all right, I'm almost ready, folks. There I am. Okay, just need to see myself in the screen here. So, which ones do I not have of this Man collection from 2013/2014? There was one called Man Town, uh, and it looked the image on it. I wish this is why I missed the editing process because I can't superimpose something right here at this moment. But the label had the picture of like a man cave, a remote control, leather couch, big screen TV, uh, and I can't remember exactly what it smelled like, but if I'm not mistaken, it was quite close to Midsummer's Night. So a cologne-driven scent, which makes sense because we're dealing with a man collection, right? They're going to throw a cologne at us. So it smelled nothing like a man cave. And then there was one that was very appropriate for days like today. And it was one that I actually really liked, but it was still a novelty. It was called First Down, a football candle. And the smell of the candle was obviously like the football, the pigskin, the that even like the brand new basketball. Uh, and what I liked about it is that it was reminiscent of a smell that I think we all enjoy, and that's going to be the sporting goods store. Now, I've said I'm not really a big sports person, but a sporting goods store still smells really nice. I don't know what it is. It's nostalgic, but I don't nostalgic for what? I don't reminisce about the days of Little League. I don't reminisce of, any other sport that I've played. I think the only time I was excited to go to Dick's Sporting Goods was to pick up, you know, like a new ping pong paddle. That was about that was about the end of it. But First Down, I honestly really do like that candle, and I wish that I did have it here because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if there was any green grassy notes, if there was anything else other than just that football rubber smell. There was another one that I don't have, which was riding mower. Riding mower. I think that's what it was called. Just a dude riding a mower, like one of those big lawn mowers. And it smelled like fresh cut grass. Now, that one smelled great. But again, we're stereotyping men here very, very quickly, aren't we? Um, I've been trying to think if there was anything else that I don't have. I may be missing one or two, but let's talk about what I do have. That's a little bit more interesting, right? Do we start with a good one or a bad one? Um, let's start with one that's in between. Again, this collection really was stereotyping men, and I don't think really in a good way. But you know, it was over 10 years ago, and times have changed. Standards have changed a little bit. Like I don't think a collection like this would certainly be as uh, much of a novelty today as it was back then. Maybe it was a little bit more of a joke back then. But as I said, I don't think it was a joke that landed. So here's one that people despise this. People absolutely despise this. But I have to tell you right now, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the label. I'll show you in a second. I'm looking at the color of the color of the wax looks a little bit weird. Looks a little bit, yeah, it's maybe a little bit off-putting, but when you see the label, it complements the label nicely. I guess there's really nothing else to talk about other than to show it to you. It's called On Tap, and we have, um, like the, two different formats of beer, um, with the wheat in the background, this nice golden light. I like it. Those look refreshing. You know, yeah, it complements the wax. I beer has been a large part of my life, not so much in modern days, but I really enjoyed learning about beer and trying beers from all around the world. And I think the most excited part about learning about beer for me was back, when really the bang, the rise of the microbreweries. I mean, now everything's microbrewery, micro this, micro that. But back then, like, you really said something about yourself when someone said, "What kind of beers do you drink?" And I'm like, if I said, "Well, I'm really into micro beer," people would be like, "What? You're into what?" Um, yeah, I mean, whether it be um, Northern California, the Portland region, or all of the Pacific Northwest, Colorado, New York State. There's a lot of beer, quality beer coming from all over the country, all over the world. Um, and then you have the old world category of beers from uh, all the different styles that we do see globally. So the question is, the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is a beer candle. This doesn't necessarily look like, a little hole in the wall bar at the end of, the edge of town. You know what I mean? The one that stays open the latest. This has a little bit of class, a little bit of style on tap. So not in a can, on tap. I like this. If you took this and separated it from a collection that was called the Man Candles, I like this. I really do. And I'm looking at it right now, and it's very appealing to these eyes. I'm still liking it. But what does it smell like? It's fun. I wish we could all do this together. Okay, so to me, there's two things going on. I think 95, if not more, percent of all people, if they were to smell this candle for the first time, they go, they would they would reject the smell quickly. And I don't always think that's a bad thing. I don't. I think sometimes when people reject a candle really fast, it's a sign of authenticity. Sometimes smells can be a little bit too close for comfort, and I think that that's the case. But also, I think now you got to hear me out because this is going to sound bad, but it'll get better. There is, look, I worked as a bar back for how many years? During my college years. And I didn't work in a bar. I worked in a nightclub, right? All they sold was like, um, you know, easy mixed drinks, like whiskey and soda, screwdrivers, and bottles of beer. Lots and lots of bottles of beer. This was a three-story nightclub that I worked at. And I would get out of work at 4 in the morning and I would be covered head to toe in just rancid beer. I know this smell. I don't think anyone could know it more, is what I'm trying to say. But I think we all know it. If we perhaps are in, a bar late at night, closing time, there's there's a smell that the surface of the bar, behind the bar, stuck in the mats on the floor. There's a smell that develops, the coagulated, dried out, sticky smell of domestic beer that's been spilled. It's skunky, it's sour. There's something, you know, I could see in a certain mindset it being a comforting smell to some, or just in a very specific circumstance. Um, but it's not, I don't think it's a smell that anyone really is going to say, like, I love that smell of the bar at 4:30 in the morning. That sticky beer substance on the surface of everything. So there it is. But we're going to get better. This is very much a domestic beer aroma. Domestic, the United States, right? Like a bottle of Budweiser, a bottle of Coors, a can of Bud Light. This has a very familiar beer out of a can, uh, you know, generic aroma. But it gets interesting because although I think everyone who would be smelling this candle right now would be saying everything I'm saying, I think other people might have a difficulty with what I'm about to say. There's also some other notes in here that are very pretty and remind me legitimately of other kinds of beers, specifically IPA, India Pale Ale. We can just say ale. There's a very strong malty smell to this. Malty, it's very hard to describe, but when you smell like a darker, not like black or dark brown, but like that really rich ale that kind of has that tinge of orange or dark amber. And usually when the viscosity is really thick, it really is heavy when it sits on your palate. Usually when the malt is, well, what could be the alcohol, but that's a sign of a malty beer. Uh, and I smell that malt here. It's that malty fruitiness that, it's just smelling it makes me think of a syrupy texture. But there is uh, a bright, fruity, citrusy side here that I don't think is common in domestic beers at all. This is much more of that IPA that I was just talking about. Now, when we talk about IPAs, you have to talk about hops. Hops are brewed uh, in beer, and just like any other you know, ingredient. There's different varietals of hops. And I'm not going to get into a beer lesson here, but when, very commonly when you smell an IPA, you might say, "Ooh, this smells like grapefruit," or "Ooh, this kind of has like a lemony, zesty thing," or "Ooh, this smells like a juicy peach," like one of those cups, fruit cups. You rip it open and it's just got like the sliced peaches in there. That is a sign of several different hops, but one that is very popular, which is called the Cascade hop. And I bring this up because there is a grapefruit citrusy note in this candle that does make it actually a little bit more pleasant. You're dealing with something that I've already talked about that doesn't sound very pretty, doesn't really sound too, I don't know how much you want to make your home smell like, you know, sticky domestic beer. But having that citrus there does freshen it up. It somehow does uh, make it a little bit prettier. So, you know, you can't, if you get sprayed by a skunk, you can put all the cologne on you want in the world. You can't get rid of the smell of the skunk. You can only mask it. So that is the question. Do these prettier smells of the candle help disguise the ones that are not so great, or do they help transform it into something that you would enjoy? And I don't know. I personally just don't like the idea of burning a candle that smells like beer. I don't think anyone wants to smell like alcohol. Even if like the whole concept of candle smelling like wine. I never really understood that either. If I want to smell wine, I'll pour a glass of wine. I don't really want my house to smell like legitimate wine or booze or some cocktail, um, um, or anything of that nature. I mean, hey, I think I like the smell. The springtime whiff. You driving down the street and you get a whiff of fresh gasoline in the air. That's a nice smell. But do you want your house to smell like it? You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm rambling. Maybe I'm making too much of this. My point is there is something about this that I really do enjoy. I I I I am happy that it's on my shelf. I wouldn't light it. I don't think I've ever burned it. I have several of them. I've never burned it, but I do enjoy revisiting it every so often. Um, I wish that I could say more about it, but I don't want to milk it too much. I think I've said enough. On Tap by Yankee Candle. That one was that was actually a part of the 2014 collection. I could be wrong. Now this is the one where it's one thing to stereotype what men enjoy, but this is just pushing it. This is pushing it. Before we introduce that candle, I want to thank Matthew. I'm sorry that I keep bumping the camera. I'll stop doing that. But Matthew, how we doing? We'll have to watch the rest later. Something to look forward to. Thanks for another Smell It Sunday, Shane. Matthew, thank you so much. Always appreciate your contributions and just for showing up. And that goes for all of you folks. Just showing up is contributing enormously. All right, so here it is. Bacon. That's the name of it. No, actually, it's bacon! Exclamation point. I mean, was this the man collection or the little boy collection? I don't know. It may, and it's a collector's edition. This one is rough, guys. There's no two ways about it. Um, I'm not even going to get into the possibilities of how this could be successful. I think when you're It's just a concept that's probably never going to work. I don't want to say definitely because you never say, you never say never. But the smell of bacon, like, look, what is the worst? One of the worst things in the world is, especially when you're traveling, not especially when you're traveling, but traveling, whether it be in a car, like a crowded car, or on an airplane, and you're sitting in the middle seat. You got two people on either side of you. You didn't get any sleep the night before. You're trying to like scrunch your shoulders together. You have no armrests. You kind of have a headache from rushing all morning. Maybe there's a couple beads of sweat and the AC thing is just not working. And you love everyone loves kids. I don't know if everyone loves kids. I enjoy children, but let's face it, there's a lot of crying. There's a lot of loud crying and screaming on airplanes. I'm just trying to set the tone, right? Inevitably, when I'm in this scenario, someone next to me orders like the garlic hummus platter. It's got cheese and olives, everything that is incredibly aromatic and under in close quarters, like, with all this claustrophobic, uh, 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 when you're claustrophobic like that, it's not something you want to smell. But then there's other times. How many times does this happen? Well, usually it happens in the car, but airplane too. Someone rips open a huge bag of beef jerky. Look, I think there's a lot of us. I can't say all of us. Beef jerky is great. I love it. I really do. But when you're forced to smell something and like you don't get to eat it or you can't like turn off the aroma, it becomes very intrusive. And one of the worst things to smell when you don't want to smell it is the smell of beef jerky. Not bacon, but beef jerky. But what do they have in common? Well, bacon products and artificial bacon products. Like anytime you see potato chips that are bacon flavored or whatever it may be, combos. What do they not make that's bacon flavored these days? But usually it's not flavored with bacon at all. Usually it's just liquid smoke, which is a great ingredient. You know, I can use it for many things, especially in the culinary world. But it's that liquid smoke that sells the concept of bacon or beef jerky or something like that. And that's really what this is about. I mean, I guess I could say, thankfully, it doesn't smell like pork or rendered fat. Oh, it's so. I, you know, how, I don't know how many times I've actually been in front of the camera on this channel and said, this candle smells bad. But I have no qualms at all saying it in this scenario. This is atrocious. I mean, it's great in that I think it's successful in what they're going for, but atrocious in that, oh my God, I can't imagine anyone subjecting themselves to this, in their house. It smells very smoky. So smoky. And it may not even come across as smoky as it is because it's so sweet. It's really like it's not just the bacon, it's like the sweet, sweet honey glazed ham, like that outer section of the ham that is well done or maybe even overcooked, crispy, where that fat is really rendered and caramelized. And with that, there is just a unmistakable saltiness. So salty that you can smell this and you simply cannot see salt. not sea salt. You cannot not see salt. I mean, when I smell this, yeah, I think of bacon, I think of ham, but I'm also seeing it like and totally encrusted with salt. The smokiness, I do have to say, it is nice. Like there is that hickory, maybe even mesquite, distinct flavor. It's got that robust nature to it. It really should be called. What are those hams called? I can't even think of the names of them when they're pre-cut, the spiral hams. That's what this smells like. It smells much more like that than bacon. It does have that salty ham, porky thing going on, but really the main thing here is the liquid smoke. And I mean, I guess this is a good gag gift, but did Yankee intend it to be like, oh, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. All I do know is that it's got a price tag on it still. Is that it's a lot of money for a gag gift if you're not going to burn it. Now, I've saved one that I think the best for last, really, because out of all of the selections that were available in this collection, this one was actually great. I don't think it belongs in a man collection, but this is definitely a candle that is not the purpose is there's not a candle that you can switch out for this on any given trip to Yankee Candle. Like this has a purpose, this next one. And I feel like the market has got a hole for candles of this nature. You know, um, I always, growing up, I always had the TV on. I mean, it's something I can't be embarrassed about. I was a TV child, cable television, but mostly films. Before, after school, after Saturday morning cartoons, movies, movies, movies. It was really that was my education when you know in my younger years and even in my teenage years. I think I learned because I certainly didn't learn a lot from school. It's very hard for me to learn in a classroom setting, even to this day. But I learned uh, a lot from films. But with things becoming different today, with iPads and cell phones and Apple TVs and Roku's, and, there's 7 people in a household and there's 7 different shows going on at one time in everyone's bedroom. We don't have something that I miss tremendously from my youth, which was movie night. You know, for the younger audience here, keep in mind there was a time that televisions were not propped up like this. Televisions belonged they belonged on the floor. They weren't on the walls. Maybe if you went to get your oil changed or you're waiting in the doctor's office, they have one propped up in the corner of the room in a bracket. But TVs were on the floor. And that's commonly where a lot of the members of the family would sit. They would sit around the television on the floor. They would get very close, and there was something that would happen that just can't happen when you have the TV on the wall, huge, and everyone is spread out through the living room. Maybe a couple people are sitting at like the kitchen island, a couple people are sitting over here, another person sit like there's not this community experience when you're all stuffed together with a screen this big. There was something that happened there that is missing in today's modern world, and I'm not happy about it. However, another point of that is that, most of my adult life, I haven't had movie nights. I just don't do it. But now that I feel like I've kind of reached an age where I'd like this notion, like, kind of doing, living out kind of like childhood memories. If there's an event, Super Bowl, for example, if there's an event on TV and you have a bunch of friends or family getting together, you get a bunch of food, you get a bunch of beverages, you get some candles that are fitting for the night's uh, whatever media that you'll be partaking in. I like this. As I get older, I enjoy the idea of movie night, and it's something that no matter how the technology changes throughout the generations, it's something that will always exist. And Yankee Candle's movie night fragrance from 2013 was something that I think Yankee really needs to address. We need something like this. Bring this back. This could be like an all year round candle that people are like, I it's movie night. We got to have we have to have another buttered popcorn candle. Um, doesn't mean you can't also eat the popcorn. I think it's actually better, and I have a recommendation for that just in a little bit. But this is fun. A lot of foods, when you smell foods and candles, people are like, it's I don't like the smell of food in my candles. Well, to me, I could see a lot of people saying that about this candle, but I would say, hey, give it an extra shot because I don't think there's anything disgusting about this. I can see bacon, nauseating, or Yankee Candles, turkey and stuffing, borderline nauseating for some. I quite enjoy it. Um, but this is great. It's sweet, sweet corn, unmistakable. Like hot air popped popcorn. So really not a movie theater buttered popcorn, but a fresh, like a fresh batch of popcorn, and that little cyclone thing in the kitchen. But definitely a large butter component. It's kind of like the powdered butter flavoring that you know I won't lie, this smells like you took a bag, a big bag, or the tin of the buttered popcorn. You put it in a bowl, you put that bowl in the microwave for like 2 minutes, and just everything got hot, and it's sizzling a little bit, and you throw on some kosher salt, bam. But the sweetness of the corn really comes through, and that is why this one I think is so delicious and mouth-watering, because you got rid of the butter, you get rid of the salt. It's not just a popcorn, it's a very sweet corn, like in the summertime off the cob, very, very sweet, and it is delicious. It goes into, that corn, that sweet corn goes into a slightly caramelized territory where it's like, maybe, you ever take the corn and on the grill and you roast it and you really have the time for all of the liquids within the corn to evaporate, steam, and it concentrates the kernels so they become not just sweet or concentrated with sweetness, but you're also caramelizing those sugars in the corn. yeah, there is a touch of that caramel corn that happens here. And I can't say for sure, but the one thing that it very, very, very much reminds me of a territory of popcorn aromatics is the popcorn ball. I don't know what it is about the popcorn ball. I mean, why doesn't a popcorn ball smell just like, caramel corn? I don't know. Like, why doesn't it smell like Cracker Jack? Something about a popcorn ball that has a specific aroma, and I like it. And popcorn balls remind me of Christmas because I remember they would sell them where we would buy our Christmas tree. So, like Christmas Vacation, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Home Alone, or late summer nights, it's midnight, and instead of going to bed, you throw on a horror film, go to the movie rental store, you get like a stack of VHSs, all from the horror genre, or rom-coms too, whatever's your thing. But you stay up late at night, and maybe your bowl of popcorn's gone, but you still got the candle going. I like this candle. I really, really do. I would stand up for this concept any day. Bring it back, Yankee. I mean it. Uh, but I have a little bit of a wild suggestion for you guys, but something I love. I love about, you know, I spent a lot of my years studying wine, working in the wine industry. And although I was never huge on the wine and food pairings, it's something I studied. I kind of had to be. Uh, you know, I think there is something magical when with wine and food, or the combination of anything. You know, finding that thing that the where the uh, I can't think of the saying right now. I'm gonna let it go. But the pairings that really spoke to me, whether it be wine, food, whether it be candle in a movie, are the ones that really are greater than the sum of the parts. Really enhance the overall experience. Really, it comes down to fun, I think, right? I mean, even in wine and food, it's a fun experience. Um, so I remember one night, um, years ago, I was working for a winery in Napa Valley, and I was gifted a very, very, very nice bottle of Chardonnay. This was a bottle that I believe at the time that it was given to me had already been sitting in the cellar for about 10 years. But it was also a wine that had aged in oak barrels for 15, maybe 18 months. It's a long time, right? The longer you age wine in barrels, the more likely it'll be able to age in the bottle in the wine cellar. And this wine was it was maybe not at its peak, but it was supposedly supposed to be at, drinking really well, as they say. It was showing very well. So instead of putting it in my cellar, I brought it home. I surprised my roommates and a couple of my friends. I said, "Hey, I want to share this bottle with you guys." And we got on the topic of candles. We're drinking this wine. We're talking about Chardonnay. And I don't know, I can't remember how it exactly happened, but they said, "Shane, you love candles so much, but could you pair anything with this?" And I'm like, bam. You know how people say, "Ooh, this Chardonnay, it's buttery, it's toasty, it's biscuity, it's savory, it's soft, it has a full, round, velvety mouthfeel." There's a lot of reasons why that occurs to Chardonnay. It's not all because Chardonnay like the actual grape Chardonnay. It doesn't taste like butter. It's how you treat it during the fermentation and aging process. But it's true. There is a style of wine that is very buttery. It can be bright and refreshing, but has you know like a pastry crust or an actual like buttery biscuit quality flavor. And buttery Chardonnay, that's kind of back in the day that was Napa Valley's thing. Buttery Chardonnay and like monster Cabernet Sauvignons. So something I'd like to recommend. I'm saying all of this to simply say, like, you buy a good Chardonnay, like a Rombauer Chardonnay. Rombauer is like the epitome of buttery Chardonnays and a good Chardonnay, but it's still like, oh my God, I'm drinking like clarified butter here. You get a buttery Chardonnay like that, burn a candle like this. You make an awesome, like kettle corn with really, really good seasoning. I might recommend some little bit of good quality extra virgin olive oil, some fresh herbs, cracked black pepper, a nice, a salt that might have not just a good flavor, but a nice texture. But of course, the butter on the popcorn. You're watching the movie, you're eating the popcorn, you're burning the candle that smells like popcorn, you're drinking the wine that tastes like butter. It's just a really cool experience. Uh, so that's my recommendation for this candle. This will always be that Chardonnay candle, even though it is, the movie night candle to everyone else. I always think of it as the Chardonnay candle. Hey, if you want to skip the movie, but burn that movie night candle with with a good glass of Chardonnay. All right, I've talked too much about that. This is another one. It's from the same year, different color. I can't quite remember how I got this one, but I wasn't sure which one to pull. I think this one smells a little bit better, so I'll stick to that. All right, let's do a couple more. Mr. Jams is in the house. Happy Super Bowl Sunday to everyone. Shane, remember the man candles from Yankee, which was affectionately known as Mandels. The fresh cut grass beer, 3 days without a shower. Um, yes. The I see what you're going for. I wish I could show the whole collection, like an image. But if you go onto Google and you search for the man candles, you'll see all of the old marketing for it. Um, I really don't have much more to say about it other than it was just a concept that was stale from the get-go. But I guess the point is a couple good fragrances came out of it. But I figured that as Mr. Jams points out here, that today was a good day to bring them out because of Super Bowl, because of the first down football candle. Plus, I don't know. I don't know. I was gonna say, no, I'll skip that. I don't want to get myself into trouble. Um, here's some ones. Here's some ones. Horrible grammar. Here are a few that I enjoy that I don't often see people talking about. And then we're going to close for the day. And Mr. Jams, if I didn't thank you for your contribution already, uh, thank you. I get, I'm not really a good multitasker, as you can see. So it's great. It's a great thing that I have a live show, is it not? And it's just great to see you uh, every week. A lot of you guys show up every week. It's a humbling feeling, including Stephanie. Stephanie, I was saying at the beginning of this show that I owe a lot of people emails. You're one of them. Okay, here are some candles that were not necessarily released in the United States, but are still, they were very easy to find, or at least you came across them easily, because they went to a lot of Yankee Candle, non Yankee Candle retail, like Home Goods, Marshalls, you name it. But there was a collection for the European audience, forgetting what it was. These two were from it, but these weren't in Yankee retail. Olive and thyme. Now, I did a whole video on this one many years ago. Why did I choose this to talk about today? I don't know. Um, I've been spending a lot of time, I suppose, in the kitchen, both mine and others. And I have recently given one of my friends, dear friends, one of these candles. And he was telling me that he was enjoying burning it in the kitchen. He was really, really enjoying it. And that it just kind of got me thinking about this candle again. This is so good. There's something so familiar and yet so exotic about this candle. I, I, I mean, I could sit here and talk about all the little subtle nuances of what I smell. It has an olive brininess to it. It really does smell like, like the brine that you're pulling your olives from. It's got that very specific zing, that tang that we get from um, you know that brine that is created. That I'm not sure what kind of bacterias are used for the conversion of like pickling and brining of olives. But there's a delicatessen smell in this, but very much like the label, there is an outdoorsy farm vineyard Tuscan feel. Uh, you know, Grapes and olives, as they always say, need the same conditions. They grow essentially the best. Uh, they grow in the same areas, is what I mean. The conditions that you need for grapes, you need the same for olives. So, if you were, if you have, or if you were to take a trip out to Italy, Tuscany, and you just roam those vineyards, I'm sure you would be seeing tons of olive trees, and there certainly was for me when I lived in Napa. Not nearly as many olive trees as there should be, but the winery that I worked for a while, we harvested our own olives and pressed them, cold pressed, to make our own olive oil for the culinary department of that same winery. And man, that was just an experience to be there among the trees, among the leaves, to be there in the vineyards, all of the smells. In the vineyard, you do get a very green smell, but it's not as lush as a lot of people might imagine. Vineyards are not, they're not, it's not fertile soil. Like this is not a place to grow, a garden of like a summer garden. Uh, you know, the soils that you find in vineyards are mainly infertile soils because you want to make the vines struggle to produce fruit. The more they struggle to find the water in the ground, to find the nutrients, the better the fruit is going to taste. So, it's a common misconception, but there's the smell of when you're out in the vineyards, that dusty dirty soil smell that is very much romantic, especially when you have the heat of the sun that heats up that soil. It's blazing hot, in the depths of the summer. But then as the sun dips, it immediately gets cool. And there's something that happens in the vineyard where that smell of that roasted earth cooling off. Whether it be you get a little rain, which is rare in like Napa Valley, or you just have that sundown and a cool night. It's a lovely smell. I'm bringing this all up because there's something that really works for this candle in creating that environment. It's not just the delicatessen. It's not just a jar of olives. Definitely not a jar. I mean, like the, the good olives. The olive bar that you go to at Whole Foods. You do get that browniness, but it's not just about that. Do I smell thyme? Of course. There is a whole bunch of herbs here. Um, and I wouldn't say just thyme. And in fact, I don't think it's actually too strong on the thyme. I think it's really more of a big citrus with a little bit of that herbal thyme on the side. It's more of a citrus than anything. Um, but it works out because, oh, and a spiciness. I was saying like olive oil, um, like California olive oil, Spanish olive oil, always tend to have that like spiciness to it. They have the grip, but a little bit of that cracked black pepper spice. Um, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but it's the concept is really starting to flesh itself in my mind. Like there's the green smell, there's the brine smell, a little bit of the vinegar, the salty, the cracked black pepper, the herbs, that olive oil. That smell of olive oil is so prominent. I think the overall effect that this candle has is it smells like a very effective salad. Like maybe that's putting it down a bit, calling it just a salad. But it's got all of those ingredients. And that's really it works really well. And it's not a vague smell. It's actually quite aggressive. But it's so pleasant. It's fresh. It's got a culinary twist to it. It's herbal, it's spicy, it's savory, it's salty. Um, I love it. I love it. This is a perfect candle for your kitchen if you're really trying to sell that Tuscan vibe. If you're doing like an Italian dinner or an Italian brunch, bam. Daytime, nighttime, any time of the year, you name it. This is one of, I can't say it's one of my favorites. I have so many favorites, but it definitely is one. And it's one that I commonly recommend for people who are looking to buy a candle that's a little bit different than what they're used to. And I won't talk too much about these, but if you want to enhance that experience of olive and thyme, from the same collection, they have sea salt and sage. And that's exactly what it is. It's herbal, it's got that saltiness of, that we talked about in this last candle. But it has an ambery, musky, soapy quality to it as well. It's green, it's fresh, it's got the salty, it has that culinary flair. But I feel like, this is a great one to have side by side. If maybe put this one in the kitchen, burn it, put this one a little bit closer to the living room, burn it, and now we're getting like a three-dimensional uh, aromatic dynamics in the house. This is the warm, comfy, cozy, but it's still got that Tuscan feel. Mediterranean. Let's call it Mediterranean because Tuscan is way too specific here. Um, but the other one that I have to point out is, I don't know what this is, I don't think it ever went to Yankee Candle retail. It was found in the Yankee Candle outlet. I would imagine it was exclusively for the Yankee Candle outlets. It's not called olive and thyme, but it's called olive oil and thyme. Now, you would just think, or at least I thought, that it would be just same scent, different look, different name, but it's not. It's very similar. Now that I'm smelling it now, yes, it's very similar, but I think the green, the grassiness in this one is more let's say prominent in this one. If you really like, if you are an olive oil enthusiast and you like a spicier new world, let's say olive oil, Spanish, Californian, this is one to try out. And I don't know if I don't know if how easy it's going to be to find these now. But I remember getting this for like $5 at Yankee Candle Outlet. I bought a bunch of them. The one that's going to be very easy to find is this one. And try it. I think even if you don't want to burn it, getting your hands on it, to smell it, to keep your mind open, the possibilities open, expand your horizons aromatically. All right, folks. Ruffles is here is making fun of me a little bit. A very effective salad. Yeah, I know. I kind of felt something not quite right about when I was talking about it. It is. It smells like a very nice salad. I wish I had a more romantic way of putting it. That's why maybe I should rehearse these before I do it. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is, right? I see a lot of great questions here. I want to make sure that um, I'm just going to pick a couple here. I see Hannah's. Hannah says, "What are your favorite autumn scents to burn in the winter? I bought Yankee Candle Cider House and it smells delicious. Already building up my fall collection for this year." You know, it's a good point, Hannah. I think what happens, I can't really speak for myself, but what I see happening to a lot of people, like on the internet, right? That's my main connection with the candle community, is the internet. What happens every year is people start burning Halloween candles like the day after 4th of July. Let's face it, it just happens. If they're not burning Halloween candles, that's all they're talking about. They're obsessed with it. And then there's a large percentage of those folks religiously burn only Halloween candles up until the day after Halloween. So they love autumn, but they have all of these autumn candles that somehow never get burned because Halloween becomes the priority. And a lot of them say, "Oh, well, I'll just burn them after Halloween." But what happens after Halloween? You have like 4 days of autumn, and then everyone jumps into Christmas. Sometimes Christmas begins before Halloween even comes. And I don't mean just about like celebrating the holiday. I mean just that fundamental shift. If you look at Instagram, and you'll just start seeing the shift of the holidays from everybody's posts. The Halloween posts tend to stop like the week before Halloween, and Christmas starts immediately. So there's so many autumn candles that we love, so many that we buy, but unfortunately, because Halloween is such a dominating holiday, a lot of them go unburned. And Hannah's bringing up a good point here she's just asking me what are my favorite autumn candles to burn during winter. But I'm going to take that question and make a statement of this is a great time to, the holidays are gone. Maybe through January and February, you burn a lot of winter themed candles, but we still have this pocket of winter before we're officially in the spring. It's a good time to do like, you know, a throwback or to a little mini autumn within the winter. That's a better way of saying it. I don't know if I could point out favorites, but anything that makes you feel warm, protected, cozy, whether that be the freshly laundered linen, the fireplace smells. But for me, it's all about the sweet treats and the tasty beverages. And Hannah, you mentioned um, about the cider house, which was a really, really popular candle. I quite enjoyed it myself. But from the farm stand collection from a few years ago, I think that's a perfect example. I always do a Christmas in July, or at least sometime during the summer. So I don't see why, and I don't mean like one day. I mean I'll really milk it sometimes. I get very, very lonely when it comes to missing Christmas during the summer. So I'll sneak in a Christmas movie in the summer and sneak in a Christmas candle every now and then to, I don't know, for a treat. But I suppose we should all maybe practice bringing a little bit of autumn into the winter. And Cider House was a good one. Hmm. Um, well, I have to say, I'm really, really surprised with the turnout for this week's live. You know, every other year we've done it at Super Bowl Sunday was always it was always I just got to the point where I was actually thinking this morning, should I even do it? Should we just take a week off and start up fresh next week? But I'm glad we had this time. But as I said, I do have to keep this one a little bit shorter this week. But I think we talked about a lot of good candles. We had some good conversation here. A lot of great comments from you guys last week. So keep that going. Any questions, comments that you have, please put that in the comment section where it belongs. And have a little bit of patience with me, and I'll get back to you and respond. And yeah, check out the description section of all these live chats for all the numerous ways to help support the channel. Everyone, go eat some food, spend some time with family and friends, get a tasty beverage. If you enjoy the if you enjoy the I don't even know what to call it. If you enjoy the game, the main event, enjoy it. Uh, I, for one, am going to make dinner, get a little bit more work done, and then read with a nice warm beverage and soak up the last remaining moments of this weekend. Thank you so much, folks, for joining. I'll be seeing you soon, but until then, remember to always live enthusiastically. Happy Super Bowl Sunday.